I just want to introduce ourselves to the people that don't know us. My name is Cecilia Matos Rosa. I'm an Associate Director in Quality Assurance for GCP at Tonix Pharmaceuticals, and I'll be your moderator today. And with me, I have Camila Nova and Jenny O'Brien. Jenny's coming back, but Camila, you can introduce yourself.
Yes, since this is our third meeting, I guess you know me already. But for anybody who is new, maybe this time, so my name is Camila. I've been in this field for almost 30 years. Time really flies. And I'm running my own one-person company, you know, being the secretary, the big boss, the business development and contract review. It's just about everything. But most of it, I like really doing the job. That's why I'm not growing it. I don't want to become the administrator and the office mouse sitting at the table and looking at metrics and appraisals and all that. Just no way. I really love doing my job, and I believe it has a meaning because what we want to all to achieve is for patients today, tomorrow, next year, to have good treatment options based on good quality data, based on reliable results, protect the participants as we are committed to. So that's, I believe, also one of the driving forces for you to be at the RQAP credential program. So welcome. And we are here to answer your questions and help you to be ready.
I'll pass it on to Jenny.
Hi, Jenny O'Brien. Like Kimla, I'm an independent consultant. I've been an independent consultant for a long time and been in the industry over 20 years. And also, I'm an independent consultant because I don't want the administrative work. You can't avoid it, but I keep it to a minimum. I'm really interested in doing the work as well. I want to do the audits. I like to do where I kind of transitioned into being more embedded in some small pharma companies as their QA, which is really wonderful because then it lets me kind of speak to some of the decision making, you know, that happens in a small QA unit. But I'm excited to see you all either having registered for the test or just exploring it as a future option. And we're here to answer whatever questions we can about either the test. The test it was limited, you know, we can't we can talk about practice questions and strategies, and then talk about just the industry questions that you might see.
Yeah, with that, we are here to present to you some of the questions. These are not questions that will be in the test, but it's some it's a training questions and answers for you to practice for the exam. At the end of this presentation, I'll provide some references of what we have presented today, and you can easily access the material for training. Moving on. We have, this is the second session because we started last week and we have 4 more to go. So if you're interested, please sign up for all the sessions. And I mean, the people that will be presenting and discussing are very knowledgeable and they have a lot of experience to help you. The first training, we had some feedback, and we're going to go over there, how you approach the exam in a way that you can not only make the most of your time, but answer all the questions that you think you know best before you go to the complicated ones. And with that, I have some questions that I'm going to present. I don't know if Camila or Jenny would like to talk about the feedback we received or about the, before I go into the questions. do you like to say anything about time management, which is critical for the exam?
Well, could we start maybe ask if, does anyone have any general auditing questions that they just wanted to get, I mean, and participants can also give their opinions. It's not just Cecilia, Kamala, and I. If someone has a question and we can all discuss.
Yeah, please add your questions to the chat. I think it's open to everyone.
You can also simply raise your hand, unmute, and ask your question. And regarding the real exam, there are 165 questions. 15 of them are not counted. These are test questions to see if there are any particular problems with them. We cannot give you the real questions since they never get retired. They they stay in the question bank, so to say, and they are updated the whole exam every 4 years, if I recall. You have approximately 1 minute to answer a question, which may sound very tight, which in other cases would say, I need 2 seconds. So having said that, go first as a tip. To those questions, you can answer easily in no time, and you are sure. And flag those, you will have the technical ability to do so in the exam, flag those that you would like to return to. It's better to have 80% of questions answered fast, and then maybe you may not have time to all of them, but majority, you will already respond. If you do it the other way around, you get stuck. You may miss questions that would be the low-hanging fruit and you would answer easily. So that's one tip. The other tip is when you complete and you are ready to submit, you have one more chance to review the questions, either those you flagged or any of them. Just again, a tip, don't try to oversmart your instincts, because typically your first answer will be the correct one, most likely. And if you start thinking too hard about it and reanalyzing and breaking it down and this or this and that, it's more likely that you are going to end up with a wrong answer than with a correct answer. And last tip here, read the questions very carefully, because sometimes it's the wording of the question that excludes some of the options straight away. And sometimes you may also be asked to say what is not something. So if you skip with your eyes this not, you again immediately go to the wrong answer. It will be the correct answer, what should be done, but the question was not about that. So only if you have a question that directs you to correcting any answer you gave before, you can do so. But otherwise, don't be too concerned and too analytical. Use common sense, basic logic, and you should be doing fine.
Yeah, what I was going to say is also, it's what you do every day, pretty much. And like Kamala said, your first answers are pretty much is always the right one. And it's testing you attention to detail too. Read the question slowly and with attentive, so you won't miss anything. I have suggested readings for you for the ICH guidelines and for the FDA 21 CFR. And I have links for this at the end of the presentation. These are really documents that you should read. I'm sure you've been reading this on a daily basis, but give another try, look at it again, and especially the E6 and E8. It's very important right now. And let's see what I have. Well, I'm going to ask the first question. If you don't I think I have someone on the chat.
Yeah, one person on the chat.
Yeah, and what is, can you answer and flag? That was the question.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure. I did not try it in the test exam, but it should be possible because these should be two separate functions. So you may answer and still, or maybe you can mark the flag and answer, and then you would see most likely those that are flagged with either some icon or in a different color, depending on the exact platform. So it should be very easy to identify any flag questions before you click the final submit.
Okay. The first question I have for you is this one. About clinical investigators site audit. And I'm going to try to read very slow and so you can understand. During a CIS audit, the auditor noticed investigational product that requires refrigeration is standing on the floor of a corridor. What should the auditor do? Check if the investigation product has been altered, request a new certificate of analysis, and instruct the site to refrigerate it. Inform the investigator, consider this as an acceptable situation, and continue with the audit. Identify as an audit finding, notify the investigator immediately, and escalate as appropriate. Identify as an audit finding and recommend that the investigator destroy the investigational product and request a new shipment.
I see threes coming in the chat as the selected answer.
Can you?
So far, only threes. Block of threes.
Three. One of this.
And you may also think about something that you would do and that is not listed here, but you have to choose from the options that are offered. I see one, which could be kind of challenge, meaning for us to spark a discussion. So
yeah, I see number two that, I mean, if it's supposed to be refrigerated, that's not an acceptable situation to have the IP on the floor.
And I see also 4 as an option.
So I'll give you the answer. How many we have? So you should refer to IC 86R2, section 463, and FDA 21312. The correct answer is number 3. Identify as an audit finding, notify the investigator immediately, and escalate as appropriate. So whoever answered this.
But I would add probably like ask the investigator to put it or pharmacist to put it in quarantine and not to mix it up with the investigational product that is ready for use. That would be very important, but that's not one of the options that is offered. So as you can see, you may think about other actions that you would normally take or recommend to be done, but we choose from what it is here. And then why? Anybody, if there is any volunteer, would say why have you chosen a different answer and whether that was intentional and you would like to point out something about
it. There is an answer for 4, number 4. Would you like to elaborate on 4? We have 1.
That was me. I just thought that was the correct answer. I guess I didn't have a big reason.
Okay. You answer 4. It's
Yeah.
similar to the number 3. Yeah.
One thing is the IP may be fit for purpose still, but it depends for how long the drug was there. Is it 2 minutes and it was just delivered by the courier, or was it for a week sitting there? And that's finally at the end of the day for the sponsor to decide and give the instruction what should be done. The sponsor is the owner of the product. They have all kinds of data related to stability and testing out of the recommended storage specifications. And it may be okay, or the sponsor may say, no, it should be destroyed, but it's not for the audit to decide.
Exactly. And I would say when you mentioned earlier that the product should be quarantined, yes. And until the sponsor gives okay to continue or not, or have returned to the sponsor. So let's go with the second question. It's about an IRB. How the IRB or IEC should consist of, you select one, at least one member who is involved with site activities, at least one religious leader, at least one member who is independent of the institution or trial site, at least one member who is affiliated with the institution or trial site.
I see again 3's coming.
3, another one, 3.
So far, it's
All 3.
same boat from everyone. Let's hit the answer.
The answer is correct. Please refer to IC section 3.2. At least one member who is independent of the institution and trial site.
In reality, it may depend on the local regulations.
Yes.
So
And
this is what GCP says, but I've seen in some countries where there are multiple religions that there should be
religious leader.
not only one religious leader, but a representative of each religious group. And then the IRB had something like 30 members.
Go with the second question, the third question. Auditors advise. A sponsor elects to allow investigators to keep the remaining investigational product after a study to treat cancer patients that may benefit from the treatment. Only the inventory of IP sent to the site and dispensed to patients during the study has been maintained and monitored. What recommendations should be provided by the auditor? Number 1, a final inventory must be monitored prior to further study treatments. The investigational product must continue to be monitored after the study is over if it's being dispensed. The investigational product should not be dispensed to no-study patient. The investigational product must be sent back to the sponsor prior to further use. So what questions would you pick? What answer?
I see 2.
2.
Option.
I see 3.
1. 3. So since here is a variety,
Yeah.
more 3's.
And this is a trick question because depending on the country too, it happens.
And the contract with the site.
Yeah. So let's see the answer. Number 3, the investigational product should not be dispensed to non-study patients.
Now, any volunteer who would like to provide a reason for that? Or any opinions? Why is this in the regulation?
I
Why
guess,
can't-
so I thought the answer was 3. I thought 2 was also a good answer, but I'm reading the question, and so I can only go off the information provided in the question, which doesn't mention anything about other participants agreeing to be included in the study, what the parameters of it are. So 2 could be a potential, but I would want information to know that that's okay. So that's why I opted for 3.
Yeah. I think that's the key is if, yes, I saw someone mention compassionate use, but that's you have to, there's steps to take to be able to get authorization for a particular PI. In a PI, I think the PI has to, it requests that, I don't, this is a little gray for me, but anyway, there were steps taken and this clearly did not, I think you have to work with what it is said here and you have to answer based on the information within the question.
They don't mention a compassionate use here, and you cannot use that as to guide you answer. It's just the scenario that they provide.
No, I read here drug is dispensed and accountable per study, but the study ended. So you may say still, why only to participants? And it's investigation. The decision may be different if it's already marketed. But this is investigational, meaning it's not yet approved to be used in the market. It cannot be entered in the formulary of the institution. And second, the typical condition the sponsor puts in any contract with a site, this is the usual IRB requirement that participants who benefit should be allowed to continue the treatment that helps them until the drug is marketed. So this is the sponsor commitment, but you cannot say if a patient who has never been in the study may benefit or not. You know it only for the study patients.
Okay, let's go with the next question. Investigation product, I can't read that. Documentation. During a review of investigational product accountability, the following documentation was available at the site. Sent to site 50 capsules, distributed to participants 40 capsules, returned to the sponsor 5 capsules. What other documentation would allow you to perform full drug accountability? Question, answer number 1, a record of investigational product distraction and verbal response to by the study coordinator. Verbal response by the study coordinator and certificate of analysis. A record of the number of capsules returned by the participants and certificate of analysis. A record of investigational product distraction and a record of the number of capsules returned by the participants. So we have a lot of answer for 4 questions. Answer 4.
Yeah, so far only 4.
Only 4. Let's see one more. Let's get the answer. Exactly. A record of investigational product distraction and a record of the number of capsules returned by the participants. So if you have this documentation, you perform drug accountability to the point. So we don't have any other answers, so this is, everybody's fine. Good answer, good answer.
And as you can see, there is no complicated math. So that's one other point. You do not need a calculator. You do not need any complicated mathematical formulas to remember to pass the exam. Any calculation that is going to be there is going to be as simple as this one. And this is more about logic again than calculation.
Yeah. I think the numbers are to make you think that you need to do some calculation. It takes you away from the right the goal of the question, which is documentation.
Yeah, verbal is not okay, what I see
No.
here in the chat. And exactly, verbal is a nice story, but show me the evidence.
Not documented, not done. Next question. Audit, recording, and reporting. Why is it important to report on and to keep records of trend analysis of audit observation and corrective actions? We have 4 answers. To provide to the FDA during an inspection, to present in the annual progress reports to the FDA, to utilize in assessing effectiveness of actions over time, to include in the final clinical study report. So I have a lot of answers, 3. Let's go to the answer. Very good. No question about this. We hope there are more questions like that in the exam. Direct to the point.
What's the percentage of what we would call easy and say medium difficult and really difficult? But it probably would be a mixture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You answer first the easy ones, the ones you know by heart. Next question. GCP compliance, informed consent. According to the ICF 6, which of the following should be included in informed consent documentation? The signature and date of the subject investigator, the signature and date of the investigator and study coordinator, the signature and date of the participant and the person who conducted the informed consent discussion, the signature and date of the witness and person obtaining consent. I have a lot of 3s here. Any
It just
other?
comes to my mind, don't think that the correct answer each time is 3. That would be misleading.
And I think the key here is according to ICH E6, because we all know if you've had an opportunity to go to sites, an IRB might require that the PI is the one signing consent, or if you're in, is it Massachusetts or Pennsylvania, that you are the PI or an investigator, a physician has to perform PA. Thank you. The investigator has to perform the informed consent and sign it. So sites might have requirements, but this is speaking strictly to the ICH. This is when, Kamala is saying, don't overthink it. Just try to look at what the question is asking and just, go for that first, answer you see.
Yeah, that's according to ICH 488. The signature and date of the participant and the person who conducted the informed consent discussion. We hope it's the investigator, but not all the time it is.
Yeah.
Next question. GCP compliance. Prior to participating in a clinical trial, a potential study participant was instructed by the study coordinator to begin washout of a prohibited medication. The participant was then told they will sign the informed consent form at the next visit. What key element of the informed consent process was missing? Number 1, the participant should have blood work done prior to washout. The ICF should have been fully executed prior to implementation of a washout period. The principal investigator should have had a discussion with the participant. The participant should have drawn a line through the current medication requirement and updated the form. We have a lot of answers to number 2. This time was a number 3.
It's
You want to elaborate here before we give the answer? Let's go with the answer number 1. The participant should have had blood done prior to washout. This makes sense?
Depends what the protocol says. Maybe yes, maybe no.
Okay. But we're talking about, all right. The ICF should have been fully executed prior to implementation of a washout period.
And that's simple, because the rule is the informed consent should be signed before any study-specific procedure.
Yeah.
And the washout is obviously a study-specific procedure.
Yes, part of
So if there are procedures that are common for all patients, no matter if they join a study or not, then those that are common may be done before the consent. But those that are specific for the study, well, then we need the informed consent before.
Yeah, we have an answer. Washouts are part of the clinical trial procedures to ensure the effects seen are due in the IMP. Let's move to the next question. Study audit. When planning a database system audit, which area should the auditor consider as having the highest level of potential risk? Data transfer, data management, personnel training, vendor management, computer system validation. I'd like to see what the audience will say about this.
Yep. Looking forward to see the answers coming, and there is a kind of hesitance. 4, 4.
4, 4. What do you think of data transfers? Shouldn't be high risk? Why not? Oh, we got one for data transfer. Can you elaborate on that? Whoever said that? Yeah, we have 2 people with number 1. Can we have one of them say the reason you picked number 1?
Errors can be made. I agree.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. And then we have nobody picked data management, personnel training. Nobody picked vendor management. The majority picked computer system validation. Yes, you're correct, because if we have no validation, we cannot do anything. Data cannot be transferred. The data cannot be entered. And
yes, that's correct. Notorious, your note in the chat. But think about it from this perspective. If there are computerized systems and data are supposed to be transferred from one system to another, that's part of validation.
mm-hmm.
So it's included in the validation. These are not 2 separate things. So you are right that the data transfers are high risk area, but they are included in the validation part. So if the validation is done fine, you are okay with the transfers.
And with the many systems we use in clinical trials now, I understand data transfer is a huge risk, because we may know that the CRO or the vendor that manage the data is validated, but there are different input outputs from other database that can corrupt our data for data transfer. So validation for every vendor is important. Next question. How are we doing on time, Lydia?
We have 20 minutes.
Okay, so I'll do 2 more questions and open for questions to the audience, if they prefer like that. So let's do another auditor's advice. During a site audit, the auditor noticed subject data was erased and changed by a study staff member. How should the auditor advise the staff member to make corrections in the future? Corrections were made appropriate, so no further advice is needed. Provide an explanation next to the data erased and date and initial any corrections made. Use correction tape or fluid for future corrections and initial. Draw a line through the incorrect entry, date and initial any corrections made. This is GCP 101. So,
I would add also, which is not offered here, if the correction is not self-evident, then it's nice to see the reason for the correction.
Yeah, and it's interesting what it also is here is it would be a finding, and then you would add that when you're explaining why it's a finding, that's why you would say, and then you would provide the appropriate way, to have made the change.
yeah. Here, number 2 says provide an explanation next to the data erased and date and initial. Let's see. We pick number 4. Suit anybody? Yes. Draw a line through the incorrect entry, date and initial and corrections made. I'm used to include the explanation for the change too.
I understand the answer, the reason for answer number 2, because if you think about it, I am there, I noticed it, it's already erased. I cannot undo the situation or reverse the time. So I see it's already erased, and then yes, it makes sense to put the explanation, but this is the advice for future.
Yes,
and this is in the question, to make corrections in the future. That's what the question is about.
Yeah, and this is to the comment regarding, this is assuming, I think this question was written with the assumption that this was paper record we're looking at and not a something in electronic, like an EMR.
Yeah, we don't have an audit trail to this. Do we want to make a note of this question for future? Because I like this, the answer is correct, but number 2 is also something that it sticks to my mind. But let's continue.
Well, I think that you still, number 2 would not be appropriate because you're not supposed to obliterate the original entry, which is what erasing is doing. So so you can't, I would not give the advice of just write the explanation next to data erased. I would say, I'd say you should not have erased it. You should have.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, number 2 would be if the question is different. How should the auditor advise the staff member to make correction to the observation?
Yes.
And not in future. These are 2 separate situations.
Yeah, that's correct. Number 4.
Yeah, and it's the question from Ellen. Yeah, I would just, that's what's saying. If they've erased it, like you said, Kendall saying, we can't undo that. But I would say this was, not appropriate because per GCP, we don't want to ever obliterate original entry either by scribbling it or erasing. We'd want to, that the appropriate, just as what we're just saying, the appropriate thing would have been to draw a line through, correct it, and then if an explanation is with date and initials, and if an explanation is needed, then add that. Well, they can, looking at the comments, they could add the note. The point I think we want to say, make sure we leave with them with the understanding that they should not have the practice of erasing not be done. Yeah, they shouldn't do it.
Not a good practice. Not a GCP practice. Moving on. GCP compliance. Certified copies mean a copy that has been verified to have the same information as the original, a duplicate of original record, printout of an EMR, a copy of the original that has been signed by the principal investigator. I have number 1 as answers by the majority.
By everyone so far.
Everyone. The answer is a copy that has been verified and to have the same information as the original, number 1. This is another bonus question. Let's see, site audit. During an audit at a clinical trial site for a blinded study, the auditor determines that the sponsor sent open unblinded envelopes to the site. The envelopes were maintained in the site regulatory binder. What observation should be written in the auditor's report, if any? Select 1. The envelopes permit undetectable breaks in the study blind at the site. The envelopes were not sealed by the investigator after a proper review and inventory at the site. The envelopes were not maintained by the blinded investigator in a secure location. That is no observation.
Let's see the answers.
Let's read the question again.
1. Coming 1, 1, 1.
1, 1.
Yeah, I see 1. And this is really old school. So I don't...
They don't do that anymore.
I haven't seen this. Well, it's not that long time ago, actually, and I was surprised seeing that. It's just about 3-4 years ago.
Well, you'd be surprised about what small companies can do.
Yeah. I've gone to a site within the last few years. They had a paper CRF, and you just kind of go, wow. But people work within their budgets, and so
the envelopes permit undetectable breaks in the study blind at the site.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll do one more question, and I would like to hear from the audience if they would like to continue listening to our questions and answers, or they have others.
Good comment. Some people prefer paper as it is more forgivable than electronic records. So
I see a vote to keep going with questions.
Yes, so we keep going.
Yeah.
GCP compliance again. What process should be performed prior to the investigation of product being destroyed at the site or returned to the sponsor? The study coordinator should contact all participants by phone and return their study medication. The principal investigator should sign all electronic case report forms. The investigator designee should perform a final documented drug accountability. The IVRS system should be assessed and have all participants deleted. Number 3.
This is the type of question and answer options where you can eliminate something immediately, saying, okay, this is rubbish.
Yeah, 2 is eliminated right away. It's number 1, 2. And the leader of the participants is another one. So it's number 3. The investigator designee should perform a final documentation of drug accountability. So let's get another question. Protocol non-compliance. Ongoing non-compliance was discovered for participants not meeting protocol required study visit windows. The primary root cause was identified as appointments rescheduled by untrained office staff. 3 of the following remediation activities were implemented by the site. Evaluate which was adequate. Discuss the importance of study visit compliance during the consent process with candidates and throughout the study with participants. Office staff was formally trained to transfer participants' call to a designated study team member for all study-related inquiries. Participants were informed of the requirement to notify staff of any visit cancellation at least 24 hours prior. Participants were flagged in the appointment system to prevent rescheduling by office staff. So you should select 1, 2, 3, or 4.
And it's the type of question with multiple correct answers, but you cannot decide yourself what kind of combination you would choose. You need to choose from one of these options. And I see 3, 4, 1.
1. Yeah, they are different answers.
So we have a variety of answers.
Number 1 would be discuss the number 1. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, number 3 is 2, 3, and 4. And we have, I thought I saw number 4 here. Let's see the answer and see what you think. 1, 2, and 4, which is number 4.
And again, common sense helps. Something may happen and it's less than 24 hours prior to the visit. And it's not that unusual. So that's the answer I can exclude because it does not make sense in real life. And what I am left with is 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah, and this kind of question is, one of those, I think if I was taking the test, I would like, oh, I don't like this. But,
Yeah.
think it because, who knows if the participant, if the system can be flagged to prevent, office rescheduling. I mean, things like that. But it's kind of, to me, the best bad answer.
The
Yeah.
best bad answer. I
Yeah.
like your answer. So nobody picked this answer. So it's the complicated one.
Yeah.
Next one. Site audit again. What information is most important to discuss with the auditees at the completion of the audit? Issues that require change to the case report forms. Issues that require change to financial documents. Issues that impact the study data and participant safety. Issues that impact essential documentation filing. Everybody pick number 3.
Okay. And we have a single option chosen so far, and that's 3.
Yeah.
And you are right.
Correct. Very good. Moving on. Remember that the reference to the answers are found in ICH section 2.3, 5.0, 5.1, which is quality systems 5.
Let me give you an example here from real life. Can you go back to the previous slides?
I don't know if I can go back.
Yes, you can.
You should do the up arrow, see if it lets you go back.
Yeah.
Yep. Never mind. If you can, that doesn't really matter. But this is from one of my audits, and I noticed that there was a problem with the study participant insurance. In one occasion, it was expired. In the second occasion, it was covering only participants taking the investigational product, not the comparator. So if you are in such a situation, would you say, is this an example of a kind of finance-related thing that this does not need to be flagged? Or is this something that actually should be brought to the closing meeting and to immediate attention of the sponsor, because typically it's the sponsor who provides the study insurance, since there might be more than a financial risk? Any volunteer say it's the first or the second option?
I don't know. Anybody?
Let me say it again. Problem with study insurance. In one occasion, it's expired. The second occasion, same study, a different site. It was country specific. That's why it's different, although it's the same study. It only covers the participants who take the investigation product, not the comparator. So is it something which is just a potential financial impact, and you don't need to put it on the closing meeting agenda and immediately alert the sponsor? Or is this something that should be brought immediately up because it's more than a financial issue? I see.
I notice it would bring it up to them.
Correct. The reason is very simple. In the first case, if something happens, it does not matter that nobody made any claim or there was no SAE before. It's after the expiry date and the insurance would not cover anything related to treatment of SAE or compensation for study-related injury. In the second example, it means that the participants who are taking the comparator are not covered at all whatsoever. And if something happens to them, they should be those paying for their treatment. But in the informed consent, we are telling them that the sponsor has an insurance that covers them in case of SAE treatment or study-related injury. So in both cases, we have a big issue. And generally speaking, the insurance companies, they do not count claims also related to number of participants. It covers, let's say, 579 participants. Nobody has had any problem, but the 780th participant, if enrolled, is not covered at all, even if it's the first event to be raised for compensation or for covering any treatment needed due to the study procedure. So be careful about that when you audit and notice these things. They might be overlooked, especially by less experienced sponsors or by academic sponsors, and this can turn out to be really dangerous. And if it's in the US, the participants will sue them. If it's outside the US, that will not happen, but still it's a problem. Okay, sorry for interruption. And
That was
really
great. That was
challenging.
great. Yeah, we have to pay attention to these things. Patient safety first. Audit SOPs. Why is it advisable to develop procedures for preparing, managing, and reporting of sponsor client audit activities? To comply with trending requirements for consistently identifying and document data errors? Because such procedures are required by FDA regulation and must be available during an inspection. To have a consistent and meaningful approach to identifying debarred and disqualified contract research organizations and other clinical vendors. To ensure audit activities are performed in a manner that will provide information about state of compliance. We have several number 4s and one number 3.
3s and 4s. It's number 4 prevails. And since we have last 2 minutes left, let's proceed with the answer.
Yes, the answer is number
Yeah.
4.
Or is
Ensure audit activities are performed in a manner that will provide information about state compliance. We have 2 more minutes, and I hope I can do 2 more questions. 3 limit the process for debarment, CROs and vendors.
Well, there is nothing such as database, such as debarment process for CROs and clinical vendors. There is no database anywhere whatsoever. Companies may have their own track records from past historical data. New companies wouldn't have that, and there is no place to go and check. Debarment is only related to investigators.
Yes, yeah. And
And
usually it's usually verified in the clinical operations
yeah,
qualification and initiation of a site as well.
during feasibility
Yeah.
process. Yeah. Source documents. In applying the RQAP principle to source documents, everyone involved in a clinical trial should ensure these records are attributable, legible, I can pronounce all these words, contemporaneous, original, and accurate. Attributable, lean, contemporaneous, obscure, and accepted. Attributable, whatever, legal, correct, observed, and anticipated. Attributable, legitimated, comprehensive, outstanding, authorized. And the answer is? I see a lot of ones. Yes, it's 1.
Because in each option you can find some nonsense.
Yeah, obscure, anticipated, outstanding, authorized. So that's 1 more question. I'm enjoying this. Site audit. The storage requirement for an investigational product are documented in protocol as room temperature 15 to 25 degrees Celsius. Which of the following observation would be reportable audit findings? A computerized temperature monitoring system was used to monitor the temperature daily, but was not reviewed until the end of the study. Temperature log was used to document daily checks with temperature ranging from 18 to 23 degrees Celsius. A minimum max temperature device was used to monitor temperatures. The person documented their initials and date with the temperature reading daily. Answers?
We have once.
One. Okay, which of the following observation would be reportable audit findings? Remember, audit findings. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go to the answer. Very good. We all got it. It's for devices here, IND and IC8. Computerized temperature monitoring system was used to monitor the temperature daily, but was not reviewed until the end of the study. What is the reason to monitor daily if you're not going to review until the end of the study?
Exactly. And you would notice that there was a temperature excursion only when the whole study is over.
We're too late now. For 3, there is also no assurance that someone is reviewing the device that is monitoring it. Yeah.
True, but I think this one would still have been the not correct the answer, because the language saying, but it was not reviewed. So if that's why it makes it number 1 the answer.
So with that, we got to the end of our prep to the exam. I wish I could go longer because we have more questions, but I think we can, let me stop sharing my screen.
Don't worry about it. There are some overlapping areas, and some questions can go to more than one session, depending what you are going to print out. So you don't miss anything. Don't worry.
Let me see if I can. We have the present. I think Lydia, you're gonna provide the slides at the end, plus the links to the suggested readings, right?
Yes.
So
yes, it will be posted. It's also recorded. The slide deck will go to the library, so everything will be there. No worries. For the recording, it may take up to a week. It needs a little bit of post-processing, so be patient with that. But the slides should be available pretty promptly.
And thank you for joining us, and thank you for answering and participating. And thank you, Camila and Jenny. And with that, I'll say goodbye.
Thank